their play going. Last evening, I'd like to know how many of you saw the lights on the Mississippi. Wasn't that great? That was beautiful. The moon over the water. This evening, we have some very special people. And one of them is Lois Rolfe and Susan Hayes. And I'm pleased like to have them come up here. These two ladies have spent many, many hours directing the children for this play. I shouldn't say children, students. They're in high school. So, right? So I think we owe them a big hand of applause. I'm just going to say a few more words and then I'll turn it over to them and they'll introduce their students and tell a little bit about the play. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock is the ecumenical church service. That's in the parking lot north of the courthouse. Everyone is invited. And at 10:30, the Wisconsin State Bar is dedicating the county courthouse. So you're all welcome for that too. And then dinner will be served at the Catholic Church. And all the churches are participating in that. And at 1:30 is the big parade. Rain or shine, okay? Hope it's a little cooler though. And then following that is charcoal chicken at the Legion, and then we'll draw for the raffle at 7 o'clock. And we have many, many nice prizes that have been donated by the business places. Are we getting a signal back there?
Bell ringing.
Oh, the bell ringing! At 4 o'clock, all the churches will be ringing the bell 200 times. Each one will be ringing 25 times and going down, so you will be hearing a different sound from each church. And then they'll come back and do it again. And every sound of the bell, the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Brownies, and the Cub Scouts will be releasing red, white, and blue balloons down by the parking lot across from the Legion. So if you're around in that area, please come and see that. Okay. Thank you.
In addition to the acknowledgments printed in the program, I would especially like to thank Suzanne King, who has spent many, many hours getting this set together, working on makeup, working on costumes and practices, and she's just been a gem. She really deserves a lot. And also, Suzanne and I would really like to thank Merlin and Carol Miller for putting up with our practices every Monday in July, and they've just been most gracious and most helpful with everything. The Constitution, little short of a miracle, is not going to be a humorous, entertaining play. It is filled with lots of factual information, so we hope that you will enjoy it and get much from it. We appreciate the dedication and the work of the students for taking their summer hours to come to practice and for their performance tonight. And with all the practices we've had, tonight is the first time we've had the total cast together. So they're going to do an excellent job. We hope you enjoy the performance. At this time, we'll introduce the characters since you may not recognize them in their costumes. And would you please hold your applause until they're all in front. James Madison, played by Ricky Carroll. Robert Morris, played by Eric Miller. John Rutledge, played by Lisa Rotring. Dr. Johnson, played by Nicole Doberstein. And we have elementary and high school. James Wilson, played by Amy Becker. George Washington, played by Shanna Davis. William Patterson, played by Rolina Rabelski. Luther Martin, played by Jennifer Passo. Charles Pinckney, played by Ellen Gierauer. Thomas Mifflin, played by Lynn Miller. And she also plays Elbridge Jerry. Edmund Randolph, played by Kevin Hungerford. Alexander Hamilton, played by Heidi Cassidy. And George Mason and William Jackson, played by Laurie Ludwigson. And Old Ben Franklin, played by Heidi Runnels.
Now in session.
Good evening, and welcome to this historical bench of the life of our nation. The delegates from all of our states, except Rhode Island, on the 17th day of September, 1787, are now getting ready to sign the Constitution. Oh, allow me to introduce myself. I am James Madison, a member of the Virginia delegation. I am to serve as your host and moderator, and I suppose selected for this assignment because of my work with the Virginia delegation. I also felt future generations would be grateful for an exact account at what might happen here, although I keep this as a private matter and known to no one else. Before joining the other delegates for the signing, let me tell you of some of the important events which have led to this great moment. While others in the past have tried to give more power to Congress, very little was accomplished until a report was sent to Congress as a result of a meeting held in Annapolis. Because of our recent voice towards navigation rights, as well as other navigation problems, a number of states received a resolution from Virginia to meet in Annapolis, Maryland, on the 11th of September, 1786, to take into consideration the trade and commerce concerns of the United States. Since only the states of Virginia, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey attended, the commissioners felt it was not advisable to proceed with the business of the conference. Besides trade and commerce concerns, our young nation was facing other problems. Some states were attempting to make deals with foreign nations. There was talk of 3 separate confederations. There were state boundary disputes, states defaulted in the payment of their taxes, and Congress could not pass the needed legislation. And just recently, in Massachusetts, the shades were valued. Conscious of their original mission, the commissioners felt that a future conference with all the state presidents was needed, not only to discuss trade and commerce, but also for other purposes, as the situation of public affairs for the welfare of the United States may be found. The commissioners viewed these problems so serious that in the report submitted to Congress and the states assembled, they asked for the commissioners to appoint commissioners. They asked for the states to appoint commissioners to meet here in May in Philadelphia to take into consideration the situation of the United States. and make all those changes necessary to render the federal Constitution adequate to the exigencies of the Union. They were then to report on such activities to the Congress, and when agreed on by Congress, and later by all the legislators of every state, to become the law of the land. These men also suggested that the Articles of Confederation needed changing, and that a convention approved by Congress was the best way to do it. After a lot of debating over the Annapolis request, the following motion was made by the Massachusetts delegates and passed.
Because there are rules in the Articles of Confederation for making changes agreed upon by Congress and by state legislatures, and because it has been shown that there need to be changes made in the present Confederation, resolved that in the opinion of Congress, that on the second Monday in May, a convention of delegates appointed by these states be held at Philadelphia for the purpose of correcting the Articles of Confederation, and reporting to Congress and the state legislators these changes, that when agreed on to in Congress and by the states shall render the federal Constitution adequate to the requirements of government and the preservation of the Union.
The delegates began arriving here on May 14th, but it wasn't until the 25th that most of the delegates were here, and the official business of the conference could begin. Of the 74 delegates appointed, only 55 attended. The fiery Patrick Henry of Virginia was invited, but he did not choose to come, saying he smelled a rat. Others absent were important men, like John Adams, who was in Paris, Thomas Jefferson, who was in London, and John Jay of New York was not invited at all. It was also on the 25th that we elected our beloved commanders as presidents of the convention.
Gentlemen, we will need a strong leader to guide us in our actions. I suggest that we elect a president by secret ballot.
I agree with Mr. Morris.
Here, here. Proceed with the election, Mr. Morris.
Thank you. I place a nomination of His Excellency General George Washington. If you have any other nominations, or if you will, you may write in someone of your choice on the ballots now being passed out. Gentlemen, I am pleased to inform you that General Washington has been elected to serve as president of this convention. If you will, please allow the Honorable John Rutledge and myself to escort General Washington to the President's chair.
Mr. Morris, Mr. Rutledge, and honorable delegates,
Thank you for your faith in me. In my years of service to this nation, I have never been in a situation like this. I hope you will forgive me for any errors I may make as I carry out the purpose of this very important convention, made up of people I consider the most important citizens of this republic, and known for your fine character, talent, and patriotism during our struggle for independence, and many who now serve our country in the Congress. Let me tell you, as your president, how I feel about our nation and of the Articles of Confederation which now govern our states. The Confederation is not doing what it is supposed to be doing to help our nation. The Congress is failing to carry out its duties, and when Congress does pass laws, the states do not obey them. This isn't the way to run a government. It is hard to believe that while we are a nation joined together, we fail to give our Congress the support to keep us that way. We are either a united people under one government, or we are 13 independent nations working against each other, and pulling at Congress will soon destroy us all. But a good and up-to-date Constitution with checks and balances will help us become a sound and responsible government. Some of our people now say we should have a king, like England. How awful! Think what a victory this would be for our enemies if we were to give up our democracy. What a joy they would have knowing that our way of life could not last, and that a government based on equality and liberty represents only ideals which do not work. We cannot exist as a nation without a strong central government. We need a government where our lives, liberties, and properties will be safe. We must act now for a strong government.
Mr. President?
Mr. Patterson.
Mr. President, I could not agree with you more for a stronger country. Just look at our nation's financial situation.
Mr. President, Mr. Martin, I, for one, also must agree. Our Congress has been weak, contemptibly weak.
Mr. President, allow me to serve on your election, place in your hands a scaffold, made for sturdy South Carolina live oak. I doubt my need for this convention. May it be used on those occasions you feel necessary, for your protection as well as ours.
Thank you, Mr. Pinckney. I hope that my only use of this instrument will be in wrapping constructive thoughts into our brains and in producing pure actions from our hearts, rather than in seeking order or decorum. General Washington, General Mifflin, General, while we have experienced and united feelings toward each other in the past, what is past is now past. I feel the issue at hand of such magnitude to this nation that those assembled at this convention must give our total talent to succeed. I, sir, have taken that first step. And you will note that your vote for your leadership at this convention is unanimous. Thank you, General Mifflin, for your expression of support. This nation has come a long way since Valley Forge. As you have said, what is past is past, and we must go forward. I have always valued your service as a soldier politician, and especially the value of your influence, not only on the soldiers you commanded, but also your influence on the civilian population. And now, as a politician in your own state, I am confident that your involvement during this convention and in later ratification will prove most worthy. Mr. President, Mr. Wilson, I move that a secretary be elected to keep the minutes of the convention. It is so moved. I nominate Mr. Temple Franklin, grandson of Dr. Franklin. Mr. President, Colonel Hamilton, I would like to nominate the distinguished gentleman from Philadelphia, Major William Jackson.
Secretarial election results showed 5 states voting for Major Jackson and 2 for Mr. Franklin. The election was followed by the usual committee assignment and adjournment for the day. On Tuesday, the 29th of May, Governor Randolph of Virginia outlined 15 constitutional resolutions for the delegates to discuss. Let's listen to Governor Randolph as he speaks on these resolutions.
Mr. President,
Governor Randall?
let me begin by saying that making corrections in the Articles of Confederation, it is necessary to first study those things a government ought to have. Secondly, look at the errors of Confederation. Thirdly, to understand the dangers of our situation. And fourthly, to offer a remedy. While the Articles of Confederation have done all that was expected, there are, however, too many faults. Which brings me to my second point, the wrongs. We are not safe against our enemies. We cannot stop quarrels between states. We can't even agree on trade or commerce. We cannot protect ourselves against more state power. And finally, the Articles of Confederation are seen as less of importance than our own state's constitutions. The dangers I mentioned earlier, everyone knows about, and I don't have to tell you about them. So let me go to my fourth point, which is a solution to the problem, by outlining the 15 following resolutions. Number 1, to correct the Articles of Confederation to accomplish the original objects of common defense, security of liberty, and general welfare. Number 2, to correct voting rights in the Congress based on the amount of tax money collected or on the number of free people living there. Number 3, to make the national legislature consist of 2 branches. Number 4, the members of the first to be elected by the people of the several states at certain times for a given number of years. Number 5, to have members of the second branch elected by those of the first, who among those should be nominated by the state legislature. Number 6, to give Congress the right to make laws, avoid all laws passed by the individual states that might go against the Constitution, and to seek help from all states against any state that should fail to carry out its duties as stated in the Constitution. Number 7, to elect a qualified person to serve as president for a given number of years. Number 8, to look at every act of the Congress before it becomes law. Number 9, to establish a nation court system and to outline their duties, powers, and privileges. Number 10, provide for the entry of new states into the Union. Number 11, guarantee a Republican government to each state and territory. Number 12, to allow Congress to continue until a new Constitution is established. Number 13, to allow for changes in the Constitution whenever necessary. Number 14, to require the legislatures, governors, and courts in all states to support the United States. Number 15, to submit changes made by this convention first to Congress and then to the states for approval. I thank the delegates for their attention and interest.
Mr. President,
Mr. Baking?
I find it hard for me to speak after listening to the outsame plan and presentation given by Governor Randall. Many of the points I would have talked about have been covered already, and for this reason, I see no need to repeat them. Just allow me to give my proposed system to the Secretary for him to give the proper study committee.
Thank you, Mr. Baking. Your plan will be studied along with the Virginia plan.
Mr. President,
Mr. Patterson?
I do not agree with the earlier presented Virginia plan or with the South Carolina plan. In defense of what we now have, let me introduce a plan based on the fact that a new Constitution is not needed, only that we update the Articles of Confederation, and nothing more. My New Jersey plan is, first of all, in keeping with our own culture, and secondly, is in keeping with the thoughts of the people. Any new plan will destroy the rights of the states and can never be approved. I also believe most Americans feel that giving more powers to Congress would satisfy everyone. Any other plan will not be acceptable. Now let us go about changing the Articles of Confederation and carry out our duties and the purpose of this convention.
Mr. President, Merl Hamilton, I am not in agreement with the New Jersey plan as outlined by Mr. Patterson. I believe that no amendments to the Articles of Confederation as outlined in the New Jersey plan can give us a good government. And I do not care for the Virginia plan My feeling is that both plans would soon destroy our nation. I believe the British government is the best model the world has ever produced, having both public strength and individual security. I am not sure what we ought to do. I am for a general government. I don't think a Republican form of government can solve our problems. Yet, I still want to support the Republican principles. But, can a democratic assembly whose members change each year actually know what the people want? I feel nothing but a permanent group can solve the problems that come out of this type of democracy. I would suggest that a president be appointed to carry out the duties of the office for as long as he's liked by the people and by the Congress, and give him the power to veto all bills and laws. You might say that this represents an elected monarchy, but what is a monarchy? Can our governors be considered in the same way? Of course they can. And because the president can be impeached, the term monarchy cannot apply. Let electors be appointed in our states to elect congressmen. Let one branch be elected for 3 years by the people, and the Senate elected by the electors and remain in office for life. I would give Congress the power of passing all laws without exception. I would have Supreme Court officers appointed by the President and allow the Congress to appoint courts in each state. I would have all the Army and the control of officers under the control of the national government. Lastly, we must abolish all state laws that conflict with the general laws. I must say that my plan, as well as the Virginia plan, do not include the people to the same degree as the New Jersey plan. But as people gradually ripen in their opinions of government, they become tired of an excess of democracy. And what more is the Virginia plan than pork, still with a little change of sauce?
No, no, never, never!
We have just overthrown one monarchy.
Where are the states' rights? Do you take away the states' rights?
From a forced tyrant to an elected one.
Gentlemen, please take your seats.
Thank you for your thoughts and plans, Colonel Hamilton.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson,
let us look at the differences between the Virginia and the New Jersey plans. When I look at both plans, I find the Virginia plan calls for 2 branches in the Congress. The New Jersey plan calls for a single legislative body. The Virginia plan proposes legislative powers from the people. The New Jersey plan seeks legislative powers from the state. The Virginia plan proposes a one-person president. The New Jersey plan calls for more than one person. The Virginia plan states that a majority of Congress can act. The New Jersey plan states that a small majority can control. The Virginia plan allows Congress to legislate on all national issues. The New Jersey plan seeks legislation only on limited objects. The Virginia plan gives Congress power to override state laws. The New Jersey plan gives power to the executive to compel obedience by force. The Virginia plan may remove the president by impeachment. The New Jersey plan calls for impeachment done by a majority of states. The Virginia plan proposes the establishment of national and state courts. The New Jersey plan makes no provisions for state courts. Mr. President, it seems that the New Jersey plan does not fit our purpose. Our people expect us to form a national government, and therefore I support the Virginia plan.
thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Mr. President,
Dr. Johnson,
it appears to me that the New Jersey plan calls for a strong state government, while the Virginia plan seeks a strong national government. Mr. Hamilton proposed a plan totally different from both, and while he has been praised by everyone, none have come forth to support this plan. When I look at the plans before us at this convention, I like the Virginia plan best.
And so, for the 29th of May, the delegates went about the task of hammering out the Constitution, largely based on Mr. Randolph's 15 proposals and wording often supplied by Governor Morris. The discussions have been intense at times and much heated. I can recall at one time when Dr. Franklin suggested that a clergyman be invited to offer calming prayers to open each session, to which Colonel Hamilton snapped that the conference could transact its business without the necessity of calling in foreign aid. Debate continued throughout the summer on delegate equity between big and small states, the power of Congress, the president and the judiciary, taxes, revenue, the Bill of Rights, local militia, and of course, the Great Compromise. Some have described our constitutional efforts as the result of compromise. Let me tell you of one of the events which has threatened to bring the whole convention to a halt, would decide if representation should be by state, or by the number of people in the state, or by wealth. This was referred to as the Great Compromise. Let's listen to Dr. Johnson in his efforts to settle the debate on this issue.
Mr. President,
Dr. Johnson,
I would like to remind this convention and you, Sir Mr. Patterson, that America is for many purposes one political society composed of individuals, and to you, Sir Mr. Madison, that the states are also political societies with interests all their own. I recognize both interests and find these two opposing forces, not working against one another, but to the contrary, functioning as halves of a unique whole, as such should be combined, so that in one branch of legislature, the people are to be represented, and in the other, I recognize the state. I am for such compromise.
And while the majority of delegates have stayed and served the convention, some have left and gone to their respective homes. George White of Virginia left to be with his dying wife. William Houston of New Jersey went home to face a slow, painful death. William Davies of North Carolina left out of boredom. John Lansing and Robert Gates, staunch state rights supporters of New York, left, they said, to be with Governor Clinton. And now Dr. Luther Martin is going to leave. Let's listen to his reasons for leaving.
General Washington, when I took my seat at this convention, I was very surprised to find a constitutional plan, which I believe never entered the minds of the people which I represent. It is a plan which I consider not only bad for the interests and rights of the people which I represent, but the people of my state, but also bad in keeping political happiness for all our states. Let me read Mr. Randolph's first resolution, and then compare it to the committee's resolution. The original. Resolved that the Articles of Confederation ought to be corrected to accomplish the objectives of common defense, security of liberty, and general welfare. Now, let me read the revised resolution. Resolved that a national government ought to be established, consisting of a supreme legislature, executive, and judiciary. I see, sir, no mention to correct the Articles of Confederation. I see that only of a government. I repeat, a government, a national government. For so awful do I see this plan in keeping the happiness of my country. I would happily give up all the wealth I have, and live in poverty if I could some way stop this plan from being accepted by my fellow countrymen. Gentlemen, Your Excellency, they say I am needed at home. I must leave the convention. I bid you goodbye.
Shame, shame, sir!
I heard, Mr. Martin, your lack of eyesight resulted in a collision with the cow. I now have just heard, sir, that in my own judgment you suffer from a lack of national vision. This is a constitution for all states, for a United States.
Hear, hear, hear. Gentlemen, let us continue on.
The Constitution needed only 4 days, from September 12th to September 14th, for the final writing of the Constitution. On the 15th, the Constitution was ready for the final writing and the signature. But wait, an unexpected turn of events has occurred. What had been bothering some of the delegates has now come out in the open. Of the 42 delegates left, 3 have decided they cannot sign or even support the Constitution. These are important and powerful men. Mr. Gerry of Massachusetts, Colonel Mason, and Governor Randolph of Virginia. What reason do they give for not signing?
President, Mr. Jerry, Mr. President, it is very painful for me to differ from those who have signed the Constitution, but I strongly feel that the liberties of America were not included, and it is therefore my duty to oppose it. While we were developing the plan, I tried to accept it as best I could. The plan is now, I fear, a civil war may result. I see the danger of this happening in Massachusetts. In my state, there are two parties, one favoring democracy, worst of all, is political evil, and the other is fascism in the opposite direction. I fear much confusion in these parties in opposing and resisting the Constitution. For this reason, I feel the Constitution does not resolve our problems, and therefore, I cannot sign my name to it.
Mr. President, Colonel Mason. Mr. President, you have given a lot of thought to the importance of the individual and of the individual rights. Yet, I do not find in this document the Declaration of Rights. What I do find is that the laws of the general government are now to become more important than the laws of the states. I feel the Declaration of Rights we now enjoy in our separate states are no longer safe. I also believe if this Constitution is accepted, our country will begin as a moderate aristocracy and wind up as a monarchy, or a corrupt, oppressive aristocracy. This Constitution has been written without the knowledge or even the ideas from our citizens. Once they have the opportunity to review it, I believe a second convention is needed to make any changes they might have suggested. It is not right to say to our people, take this or nothing. As the Constitution now is written, I cannot give it my support here or in Virginia, and I cannot sign here what I cannot support there.
Mr. President, Your Excellency, all here at this convention know my thought on the dangerous powers written in the Constitution and given to the Congress. I'm sure you must also feel the pain I have in my heart for not signing. When I asked for help on my proposal that amendments to the plan be offered by the state conventions, which it should be submitted to first, and then finally agreed upon by another convention and voted down, it left me with no alternative. I feel that asking people only to accept or reject it as it is now will lead to an anarchy and civil unrest. As the plan now is, I cannot sign my name to it. I also believe that 9 states will fail to ratify this plan.
Mr. President,
Mr. Bagney,
I'm opposed to any such kind of second convention. Nothing but confusion could come forth from such an experiment. The states will not agree in their plans, and the delegates will not agree what is presented for them. I, sir, believe that conventions are serious things and ought not be repeated. I also have serious objections to the plan. For example, the lack of the 2/3 requirement of the Navigation Acts and the contemptible weakness and dependence of the executive. However, I will support it less the ultimate decision of the future of the Republic be made by the sword.
We are now back once again where we started. And while bringing you up to date on the events which had happened at the convention, the delegates have agreed on a motion on representation, move that the Constitution be agreed on by all states, and that the minutes of the convention be given to the President. It is now past 3 o'clock. The delegates are ready for the signing. General Washington is about to speak.
Gentlemen, it appears to me a little short of a miracle that delegates from so many states and differ from each other in manners, backgrounds, and interests should unite in forming a plan for a national government. We can't expect perfection in this world, but we have made some progress in the science of government. Should this plan offered to the people of America have any faults, a constitutional door is left open to make changes. I suggest we now proceed to sign. As the Secretary calls your state, please proceed to the Secretary's desk.
Mr. President,
Dr. Braithwaite?
I'll admit
There are parts of this Constitution which I do not now approve, but I am not sure I shall never approve them. For having lived so long, I've experienced many instances and given better information or fuller consideration, changed my mind on even important issues, which I once thought were right, but later found wrong. Therefore, sir, I agree to this Constitution with all its faults, if there are any, because I think we need a well-administered government. I believe that this government is likely to be well-administered for a number of years, and then we'll end in despotism, as other governments have done when the people have become so corrupt as to need a despotic government. I doubt also whether any other convention could come up with a better constitution. For when he called together a number of men of great wisdom, he also gave with those men all their passions, their errors of opinion, their local interests, and their selfish views. With such a grouping, can a perfect production be expected? Therefore, astonished it would be, sir, to find this plan approaching so close to perfection. And I think it will astonish our enemies, who are waiting to hear that our councils are confused like those of the builders of Babel, and that our states are on the point of separation, only to meet in the future for the purpose of cutting one another's throats. Thus, I consent, sir, to this Constitution, because I expect no better, and because I'm not sure that this is not the best. The opinions I have had of its heirs I sacrifice to the public good. I hope, therefore, that for our own sake, as a part of the people, and for the sake of posterity, we shall all act heartily, and all here sign the Constitution.
Thank you, Dr. Franklin, for your words of wisdom. Major Jackson, will you please call for the states to sign?
Mr. President,
Mr. Morris?
Mr. President, would you please honor this convention by being the first to sign this historic document?
Should the states reject this excellent Constitution, it is doubtful that such an opportunity to do the same will ever come again. The next will result in bloodshed.
Connecticut, New Jersey, New York,
Sirs, no man's ideas were farther away from this plan's mind. I realize, as a nation, we need a strong national government. The establishment of this Constitution in a time of peace and done by willing people is an exciting event and one which I look forward to with great joy. In my own state, to convince people of its worth will be a major task, but I'm sure it can be done.
Thank you, Colonel Hamilton, for those encouraging remarks.
Delaware, Virginia,
Gentlemen, I apologize again for refusing to sign. I do not mean by my refusal that I am personally against it. I have worked hard for this union. I believe as surely as there is a God that our safety, our political happiness, and existence depend on the union of our states. If union is lost, I fear it will be lost forever. I am still against parts of this plan. When I look at the good of a union and the dreadful thought of no union at all, I see safety on my right and destruction on my left. When I see happiness gained by this way, constant fighting by the other, as we now have, I must make up my mind very quickly as to what I will do when I get back to Virginia.
Thank you, Governor Redden. God grant you wisdom in your decision.
I repeat, sir, it was wrong to say to the people, take this document or nothing. If other conventions were held in the respective states, as was suggested, and voted down, and if my own state voted yea, then, and only then could I sign, for I would have both the backing of my legislator and of my people. South Carolina, Mr. President,
Mr. Pinckney.
if there were more room on this piece of paper, I would like to sign my name bigger than that of John Hancock's on the Declaration of Independence. Here!
Thank you, sir. I believe the delegates have shown their appreciation for your enthusiasm, as well as to thank you for leaving us space to sign.
Georgia, North Carolina, Maryland, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania,
Mr. President, may I make a statement before I sign?
You may.
We now see the great end of our purpose. It was to draw up a national constitution for all our people to consider. A constitution that would bring out the good qualities and prevent the bad qualities of government. A constitution that would be workable for all and one that would ensure peace, freedom, and happiness to the states and the people of America. This system, I believe, will make us a powerful nation, and we shall be considered as such by every nation of the world. We shall also regain the confidence of all our citizens. Let me offer one more consideration. By adopting this plan, we shall probably help other people see freedom and liberty in every part of the world.
Thank you, Mr. Merl.
General Washington, 39 delegates from all states represented at the convention have signed their names on the document.
Thank you, Major Jackson. The event is now in the hands of God. There is no further business. I now declare this Constitutional Conference adjourned. Sine die, and suggest we meet at the City Tavern.
And I extend to all, be my guests and eat heartily.
Well, at least, Mr. Morris, we'll know that some of your wealth will be donated to a worthy cause.
I would say the painters had a hard time deciding whether it was a rising sun or a setting sun. Many times during these sessions, as various issues were discussed, I looked at that chair, never sure if it were a rising or setting sun. But now, sir, I'm happy to say yes, it is a rising sun rather than a setting sun.
Dr. Franklin, as the Almighty has guided us through great times, we must also say that His hand has guided us in the writing of this Constitution. God has truly blessed these United States.
Of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
following right now.
Over here.
Nancy, are you here? We'd like to acknowledge your work of art. And we also have the tie-worn hats, like most of the people are wearing here, $3. And we got them for sale over there. We want them for the dance for tomorrow and for free. We also have buttons for $1 and tickets for wonderful prizes. We have a big quilt that was made by the Dillondale homemakers. And Marie Martin is the designer. So I think we're ready for the minuet. And we will maybe do the minuet again by popular demand only if you want us to do it around 10 o'clock. And at 10 o'clock, we will be auctioning off a quilt made by members of the Alma Historical Society.
In the paper it says 10:30 and I've had about 4 or 5 calls.
that right?
Better wait till 10:30.
Okay, then we'll wait till 10:30. We'll have the grand march at 10. How's that? Or the minuet. We'll fit it all in here, okay? Are all the minuetters ready? I would like to have Marvilla Becker, who was instrumental in the minuet for our story.
Mind if I stand by you?
Andrea Larson, who has the Andrea Dance Studio down at Winona, Minnesota, I called her and asked her if she could help us out in trying to figure out what a minuet was and how to do it. And I believe she did go to the college and tried to get some information on the minuet. And I'm sure she has given us a simplified version of it because it can be very complicated. But some of us have 2 left feet and 2 right feet, and possibly we might get them together and it might work out okay, we hope. And Andrea, in appreciation of going through the extra bother to help us out, we certainly do appreciate it and thank you very, very much.
I'm just going to explain a little bit about what a minuet is, how it started, and what it consists of. So what you see tonight, you'll kind of understand what they're going through. The minuet was first set in France in the late 18th century as part of a suite by Lully, and then Louis XIV hallowed it by dancing it in public. It's an old dance form, but it had to become ornate and dignified before the French court would consider dancing it. The French courtiers who mastered other dances went on to spend 3 months learning the minuet. These people had 1 evening with me and one other practice?
One other practice, yes.
Okay, so in France they spent 3 months to learn it because there were several varieties and the steps, both slow and stately, had very intricate step patterns. The minuet is a couple dance. It's in 3/4 time. Its 4 steps consist of 1, leading the lady into the dance, 2, performing a Z pattern, 3, a turn during which the couples circle each other, first holding the right hand and then holding the left hand, and finally 4, a turn in which the man leads his partner with both hands. It was more of a ritual performance than a dance, and those who could not do it properly were looked upon as failures. It outlasted all of its contemporaries and enjoyed a strong following for 150 years at all the important balls, probably because of all the time they spent learning its figures. Early in the New England colonies, the minuet was only danced on appropriate occasions. For example, the Connecticut ordination. and then only because the Bible encourages dancing on certain occasions. At that time, dancing was only employed to glorify God, and if it wasn't, it was frowned upon. English court dictated that balls were to start at 6 p.m. sharp and end promptly at 11 p.m., even if a dance was in progress. They opened with a minuet by the highest-ranking couples present. After 2 hours of court dances, then there were country dances. Tonight we're going to see a minuet set to Beethoven's Minuet in G.
Good. Put a mic by it? Put a mic by that.
by the polka dance. That was the Red Raven polka. We continue now. Polka time. Here's the Schneider polka. There we go. There you have it for the polka, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. We'll have an old-time waltz now, the next set coming up. Tonight on the Concertina. Thank you very much. And a little pause for just a few moments. We're going to have once again the minuet. So we'll pause.
Sid? There we are. Becky? Where are you, Becky? Becky?
She skipped the country.
Joanne Runyon? You're here to come up with you? Ina Yole? Gladys Betting? And yours truly.
I think we ought to give these people that built this, or made this quilt, not built it, a great big hand here, folks. It's a great masterpiece, and just remember one thing. 10, 15, 20 years down the road, think of what that'll be worth. Just take it home and take care of it. Okay, and what'll you give for it there? Who'll give a $500 bill there to get it to go on here? Start them along then. Give me 500 there to get it to go on there. 200 I got, thank you, now 2 1/4. I bid 200 in and out, 2 1/4, then when you go 2 1/4 on them, when you use them at 2 1/4, when you go 2 1/4 on them, I bid 200 in and 2 1/4 I got, now 2 1/2. 2 1/2, I'll take 240 then. 240 now, 250 then when you go 250 on them, and now 260. 250 in and out, 260 there when you go 260 on them, when you use them at 260 now, 270 then when you go 270 on them, when you use them at 270. 270 there, what do you say there? Mr. Mayor, 270 got now, 280 over there when you go 280 on them, when you use them at 280, when you go 280 on them, when you use them at 280. 270 in and out, 280 then when you go 280. Hey folks, it's a good tax write-off, and it's worth way more than that. If you figured 50 cents an hour for the hours that the people put in on that, not alone the material, you'd have $500 invested, I'm sure. They put a lot of hours in there, and I hate to see this quilt sell for less than $500. I bet 270 and 280, then when you go 280 on them, now 290, then when you go 290 on them, when you use them at 290. 280 to bid and 290 I got now $300, then when you go 300 on them, when you use them at 300, then when you go 300 on them, when you use them at 300 now 3, give me 3 1/4 back there, 3 1/4, then when you go, I'll take 310, then when you go 310 on them, when you 310 I got now 320, then when you go 320 on them. Don't leave it go out of the county, Becker. 320, then when you go 320 on them, when you use them at 320, when you go 320. You know, there are a lot of people down here, you know, you can all bid, there's room yet. 320, then when you go 320 on them, when you use them at 320. You do, huh? Well, what do you want me to talk about? The nice cool weather? Just like I told you, you know, you're going to need it in a couple of weeks. It ain't going to stay this warm all the time. We hope. Good job. And I'm at 320 and 330, then when you go 330 now, 340 back there when you go 340 on it, when you use them at 340, then when you go 340 on it, when you use them at 340. I'm at 300 and 340, then when you go 340 on it, can you use them at 340? What do you say back there? 340 there, can you use them at 340? Anybody 340, can you use them at 340? Well, I didn't think I'd have to work that hard to get there. It's not 540 now, it's only 340 that I'm asking. 340, 340, now 350. 350 there when you go 350 on it, can you use them at 350? Then when you go 350 on it, can you use them at 350? Just take it over there and just wrap it around your own there one time. 340 and now 350, then when you go 350 there, Becker, come on, once more. 350, then with 350, now 60 back there. 360, then when you go 360 on them, can you use them at 360 there when you go 360, now 70. 370, then when you go 370 on it, can you use them at 370 when you go 370 on it? Just don't worry who's bidding you. I'll say close when the price is right. Give me 380. 380, then when you go 380 on them, can you use them at 380, then anybody 380 there? You know, Becker, it's just like pulling teeth out of chickens once in a while. Tonight's another one of those nights. Give me 380. $380 there. One more time, 380 I got. Now 390 back there. 390, then when you go 90, we don't go $5 until we get over 700. Give me 390. 390, then when you go 390 on it, can you use them at 390, then when you go 390 on it once more. Now don't you get stubborn back there now, come on. It's only money, what in the hell, you can't take it with you anyhow. Give me 390. 390 then, would you go? 390 on it. Can you use them at 390? Once more. Once. 390. Now give me $400, Becker. Now give me $400. Give me $400 there. Would you go? $400. Can you use them at 400 there? Once more. I'll take that 5 now. Give me 385. I gotta get $400 out of it. Give me 395. Post don't count the only horseshoe. Give me 395. 385.
Kind of weather don't help my business.
Yeah, but boy, just wait until in December and January when it's just the opposite, 40 below. 395. No, $400 back there. 400. Then when you go 400, once more. 400. Come on, Marvis. 400. Where's Virgie? Give me $400. Give me 400. I'll sell it to him after a while yet. I ain't done. Give me 400. Give me 400. He said you can. If he don't pay the $5, I will. Give me 400. He's got it. He said you can write him a check. Yeah. Give me 400. Nice round figures. $400. It's not what you're spending, it's what you're saving. Give me 400. Yes, I would. I wouldn't let it go for a measly $5. Give me $400. Well, that don't sound like too bad of a deal either, does it? Give me 400 and he'll come and sleep with you. Huh? Yes, Marvis. Once more, 400. Time's up here. We got this good band up here. We can't let them sit idle here. Give me 400. Tell her yes, Virgie. Give me 400. Once, twice, the third and final call. You're going to leave that Becker buy this quilt for that little amount of money tonight, and in 5 years he's going to get offered $10,000 for it because it's only one of its kind.
That other autograph.
Well, I'll tell you later. Okay. I sold it right over there. Let's give Mr. Becker a great big hand. Thanks a lot, Joe and Merl, and thanks for your support back there, too. Okay, here we go. Donna Davis, telephone call.
Everybody set out there? Everybody set now for the Grand March? Okay, I do believe we're ready to go.
What